Where's the follow-up to the Panasonic S1, the Panasonic S1H II, or even the still-centric S1R? Will Panasonic stay with 24 megapixels like Canon did with the R6 Mark II? Or will they give it a boost to 33 megapixels like that found in the Sony a7 IV? And what about the S1R Mark II? Has it been cancelled in favor of merging it with the S1 Mark II? But before we get to the details, please subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything, helps this channel grow, and keeps you up to date on the latest camera coverage. Canon released the 45 megapixel Canon R5 in 2020. Nikon then released the 45 megapixel Nikon Z9 in 2021. And earlier that year, Sony released the Alpha 1, with the Nikon Z8 being released in 2023. At 24.2 megapixels, the S1, S1R, and S1H feel a little bit long past their best before date in, well, at least the eyes of some. The S1 was released in February of 2019. That's 5 long years ago. Since then, every major platform has released a mid-level camera with at least 40 megapixels, 8K video, 8K oversampled 4K, and much improved autofocus systems that can track birds, that can track them by their eyes, that can even track insects' eyes. Trains, planes, automobiles. The only thing missing are boats and UFOs. But finally, last year, Panasonic released a face detect autofocus system with the S5 Mark II. And I'm not here to feed the flames and to get the fire to just build up like a bonfire in the middle of July. No, it's not uncommon to wait 5 years. It's a little more common to wait around 3 to 4 years when we're dealing with mid-level cameras. Now, more affordable cameras can get refreshed every 2 to 3 years. But the S1, the S1R, and the S1H are mid-level cameras, and waiting 5 years, well, the Sony a7S III, we had to wait 5 long years for that camera to come out. And the Panasonic GH6, again, 5 long years. So it's not uncommon. And the Canon EOS R5, the first stills hybrid camera to deliver 45 megapixels and 8K oversampled raw video, 8K, or I should say 8K oversampled 4K video, 8K raw, 24, 25, and 30 frames per second. That camera, well, we had to wait 5 long years for Canon to refresh it. Now that was partly because Canon was switching between DSLRs and mirrorless, and we did have that thing that happened back in 2020, which I'm not really allowed to name, and let's not even get into that. But waiting 5 long years isn't, well, uncommon. However, if we don't get any sort of announcement here in spring, that would mean we'd have to wait till at least fall, and that would push it awfully close to 6 years. 6 years. Wow. I mean, in that same time period, Apple has released 6 iPhones, and their cameras, their video capabilities, their stills capabilities just keep getting better and better. Feature-rich video-centric cameras, professional-grade stills cameras, that's what we attribute with Panasonic and their full-frame S1, S1R, S1H, and even the GH line of cameras. But I think what's even more frustrating for most people is that we haven't received any real hints. Nothing from their live streams where they accidentally turn around and reveal something on the back of a shirt, like Sean did a few years back. Nothing at CES to tempt, yes, the S1R, the S1H, or even the S1 is about to be refreshed. Nothing, zippo, zilch, which kind of has us wondering, well, are we going to get anything in the next couple of months? Well, one thing we haven't seen, which is a primary leading indicator of something to come out in the next 1 to 3 months, camera registrations. Nothing, zippo, zilch. The last 2 registrations we got was from Canon, and then before that we had a few from Sony, but absolutely nothing from Panasonic. And that's a little bit frustrating. It's a little bit irritating. That leads many of us to think that maybe we won't get anything until the fall at the very earliest, or maybe, dare I say it, the spring of 2025. And I think this is a really good moment to ask the question, why do we find Panasonic exciting? Well, it all goes back to the GH line, which started around 15 years ago. And what they did is they brought us regular feature updates through firmware updates long before Canon did it with the R5 and long before Nikon did it with the Z8 and the Z9. These GH cameras provided us with log profiles. They celebrated video. They provided industry best stabilization, vectorscopes, waveforms, and other capabilities that actually, when you press record, it didn't disappear. And yes, cameras like the R6 Mark II are bringing false colors and other capabilities that aren't necessarily disappearing when we press that record button. But, you know, it's a long time waiting. And that's why, as a video shooter, I'm really looking forward to see what Panasonic does. Ever since they refreshed the S5 Mark II last winter, with a phase detect autofocus system, the power of these cameras, and that's one thing that Panasonic does really well, is they really lead the industry in bringing video, professional video type capabilities to affordable entry-level micro four thirds or full frame censored cameras. And that's one thing we're really missing here, is an update to have Panasonic show us how we as Canon shooters are missing the boat, or Nikon or Sony, and how just Panasonic does it better. But the one thing I know for sure is that Panasonic's new phase detect autofocus system that we saw in the S5 Mark II will come out in these new refreshed cameras, but it will be tweaked and improved over the S1 Mark II. So sadly, we don't have any specifications, but one thing that has been going around in the forums and is gaining some consensus is that we will see the S1H Mark II, and that we'll see the S1 Mark II, but most likely the S1R is going to be blended into the S1 Mark II. Now, we've seen this with Canon, we've seen this with Nikon and Sony, that you're able to produce a camera with very good stills capabilities, but also with very good video capabilities. So do we really need 3 separate SKUs? And the answer to that is mostly no. But in terms of video capabilities, resolution, and frame rates, a lot of discussions and interviews with Panasonic executives over the past couple of years have indicated that, yeah, they're not interested in 8K video. They're not interested in going to 40 or 45 megapixels. So I would be surprised if they stayed at 24 megapixels. I would really expect them to go to at least 30, 32, or 33, and maybe even 36. And if they did go to 36, it is possible still that they could allow for 8K. We see this on other cameras, such as RED cameras. You don't have to go to 45 megapixels to deliver 8K. There's some reasoning behind that, which I'm not going to get into. It's all very scientific or mathematic. But they're very clear, at least they were a couple of years ago, that they have no interest in 8K, despite every other major camera manufacturer, besides OM Systems and Pentax. But then again, I did say major camera manufacturer, have gone with 8K, have gone with larger resolutions that benefit both photographers and videographers. We may not need 8K, but one thing when you're shooting videos is, if you shoot in 8K, you have that ability to crop in later, just like as a photographer, especially a wildlife photographer, you're shooting birds. And yes, you might not need 45 megapixels, but it gives you that ability to crop in, to frame the subject, to deliver the shot that you're looking for without losing resolution that much. And that's another reason why we like 8K as videographers. Most of what I shoot, well, I'd say 100% of what I shoot is shot in full sensor readout, 8K. But most of the times I'm choosing 4K HQ, which is 8K oversampled 4K. Still, who knows? Maybe Panasonic has changed their mind, but these executives, when they harp on something, one thing about Panasonic we've seen is they become very stubborn. I mean, after all, look how long it took before we got a phase detect autofocus system. It took till 2023. Years, many years after the competition had switched over to a phase detect autofocus system. I mean, Canon started it, what, in 2012? 2013 with the Canon 70D, their first camera to have a phase detect autofocus system, dual pixel, their dual pixel autofocus system. Yeah, some 10 years later. But one thing is for certain, if you're tired of waiting for the Panasonic S1H Mark II, the S1 Mark II, you might want to consider the price of the Mark I, $500 off. And if you want to save more, boy, can you. How about this package? The S1H and the 16 to 35 millimeter together, $1,165 off. That's a really big deal. And as you can see, there are many other opportunities for a really good deal. And if you are interested in locking in any of these deals, from picking up an S1 and S1H or some lenses from Adorama, B&H, or Amazon.com, then please consider using my affiliate links in the description down below. These guys right here. I do get anywhere from 2 to 12% back, which goes back to supporting this channel and helping this channel grow. And a big thanks to everybody that has helped support this channel by using the affiliate links in the past, especially those people who bought stuff this weekend. And if you're interested in staying up to date, you want to get the S1 Mark II, the S1H Mark II, and you want to stay up to date on all the latest and greatest, then go ahead and subscribe and choose all notifications. And don't forget to follow me on X. As soon as I hear anything about either of these cameras, I'll be sure to put out a separate video. After all, when it came to the S5 Mark II, I was the first one to come to market with predictions about the phase detect autofocus system, and I nailed the date before anybody else. So if you want to stay up to date on all the latest and greatest, then don't forget to subscribe, choose all notifications, and follow me on X. But that's it for now. Have yourself a great week, and we'll see you again soon.